There was no actions taken in closed session. In attendance roll call, President Maxfield here. Clerk Ellerson? Here. Trustee Lopez is absent. Trustee DeJulio?
Here.
And Trustee Hunt?
Here.
Okay. Would you please stand for the pledge of allegiance? Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any changes to the agenda? No changes.
I move we approve the agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
District mission statement. We are a collaborative, culturally rich, educational community where rigorous and innovative curriculum prepares our students to be successful contributors to our global society. Item 10, public comments. Public comments from the floor, non-agenda items. This portion of the agenda allows the individual the opportunity to address the board on any item regarding board business that is not on the agenda. Without taking action or entering into a dialogue with the public, board members may briefly respond to statements made or ask clarifying questions about topics posed by the board. The matter may be referred to administration. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Michelle, and I'm just 2 students at Calistoga Elementary School, but I'm here to just let you know that here at the high school on September 28th, there is a music performance by a band and choir, so I'm just here to invite you to that. And also last week, I met with all the high school teachers and the 2 principals with Ms. Peterson, and we are working on getting other departments of the high school together to work on the music performance for December 13th, which is Russian themed.
Oh, great. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Brian Fennan, 2 comments. This is what, 253-page board packet that comes out Friday afternoon. It's a bit much. It's been 3 months since you've had a meeting. There's a lot of stuff in there. I can't possibly digest all that and comment on it, so I won't, other than it'd be really nice in the future if you get the board packets out earlier for us to review. Seriously, if you want any public input, you're going to have the information in a timely manner. Secondly, the academy program at the elementary school, which has been downsized. It was a half-time position a few years ago. It was taught 1st through 6th, and they allowed advanced kindergarten students to be there if they could read and they could qualify for the 1st, 2nd grade academy. That was a pull-out enrichment program that, in part, was one of the enrichment programs that really helped the school to retain its blue ribbon and distinguished school status, and that has continually been diminished. It was cut a few years ago down to just the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, and now I see that there's a position, a job opening that's been put out there for 2 hours per week. I'm not sure how that works. I'm not sure how any teacher's going to come in unless they live here and they're retired or something for a 2-hour per week job, and that I'm not sure how that works, but it'd be really nice to have the enrichment programs coming back to our school. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? All right, moving on. Item 11, public hearing. As an elected governing body of the Calistoga Joint Unified School District, the Board of Trustees conducts public hearings for the purpose of maintaining open communication with parents, students, and residents of the Calistoga community and school districts. Through the public hearing process, trustees seek ideas and viewpoints regarding the efficiency and quality of district-sponsored programs or any other area of the operation of the district and its school. The trustees believe that open communication is a key element in the ongoing process of district, school, and program improvement. Item 11.1, public hearing on sufficiency of instructional materials. We're going to open the hearing at 6:08. Comments from staff?
Yes. Doesn't work.
It's off. Slide it.
I'd like to inform the board that as of last week, we were short 6 algebra textbooks. However, we have received 15, so now we have extra books. And even as of last week, we still had other instructional materials, and also students had digital access, so we are in compliance of the law.
The last books came in when we have, as Dr. Monica said, that we have complete set hardcover books as well as digital. Digital was, students were assigned a digital copy the first day of school when school started, so they've had access to the materials.
Comments from the public? Seeing as there's no rush to the podium. Yep, close the hearing and we'll go 6:10. Items 12, reports, recognition, information, and discussion items. And these next two things are actually really kind of important for the district. So we're going to start off with Mahoney Consultants. Scott Mahoney, welcome.
Hello. Hey, thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it. My name is Scott Mahoney, and I work for myself. I have a small business called Mahoney Consulting. 4 years ago, I did what Esmeralda was about to do. I retired from being a superintendent. I was a superintendent in a small district in Petaluma called WA. We had 1,000 students for 19 years, and then I went to a small district in Marin called Ross and retired from there. So for the past 4 years, I have done 8 superintendent searches. All of those superintendents are still very happily employed in the districts they were hired in. Or residents are still very happy with their choices. So I also do coaching of superintendents and principals. I also do contract negotiations in 2 districts. So that's been my life for the past 4 years. So I'm very happy to be here tonight to talk to you about the services that I hope you'll choose me to help you with. So your decision, as you indicated, is probably one of the biggest decisions you'll make as trustees, hiring a superintendent. So what I've tried to do with the business that I've started is to look at all the companies that I've seen over the course of my career, 22 years as a superintendent, and think what I thought was great, and then eliminated some of the things that I didn't really think were really good for the districts or the communities. So I have a combined process that I'll talk about. If I can start just by talking, you have my packet, but just to quickly summarize the process. There are really few steps, but the steps are pretty in-depth. So one of the biggest steps at the beginning is to gather input from your constituents. And that in my mind means everybody in your community. So I spend a significant amount of time meeting with individuals and groups, as many as that takes. So for example, when I did the search in Rincon Valley, I met with 34 different individuals and groups to gather input about what those people believed were the most important professional qualifications and personal attributes of candidates. So professional qualifications are pretty easy to identify. That's what we see in a resume. The personal attributes are harder to identify. That's the kind of person to hire. So what I found is people are more important than the qualifications are who you're going to hire. So the process that I've tried to help boards go through is to make sure that you're hiring the person that you think you're hiring. And you're not going to scratch your head in November saying, that's not the person that I spent 4 hours with in an interview. So far, that's worked. So I do spend a lot of time meeting with lots of people, including trustees, everybody at the district office, all the employees, both individually if they want to, in groups, community members, classified employees, anybody who's willing to. And I would think in Calistoga would be important also to meet with some high school students. If they're impressions about what it would take to what kind of superintendent we want. Also, really important in your district, as you know, is meeting with your Latino parents and community members and speaking in their language or having someone there to interpret so we get input from that constituent group about what they believe would be the best person to have as far as their qualifications and what kind of person they want. So qualifications are important for you, and we would go through exercises to see what you think is most important. You want somebody with a doctoral degree, you want somebody who speaks Spanish, you want somebody who has experience with construction projects, you want somebody who understands basically financing in schools. So those are the kind of things that your district might be inclined to look at. So you'll see that if we go through the process, there will be 30 or 40 different factors that your constituent groups, they're important, but there are probably 4 or 5 or 6 that are most important for you as far as who you want to hire in the future that are along there with you. So those are the basic steps. Advertising. I do lots of advertising, go through each of these steps. So in addition to meeting in groups and individually, I have a monthly survey that has people focus on what the most important qualifications for personal attributes are in their mind. And then I also send home written surveys because some parents don't have access to the internet or aren't willing to come into a meeting with their groups or one-on-one. So all 3 vehicles I use to get input. Once I get all the input, I try to synthesize it and then meet with you to say, this is what I think I'm hearing from everybody in your district. What do you think? Does this make sense? And if it makes sense, then we spend some time writing what's called a position announcement. That's the most important document we talk about that. So we advertise. Classic advertising vehicles are EdJoin, EdCal, Association, Interface Association of California Latino Administrators, and their newsletter, the American Association of Administrators, Credit Publication, posting on LinkedIn, and then the last quote there is where I've received the most candidates that meet the criteria, and that's where I contact the people that I know about around the state or have heard about, or that I email. So I have a database of about 350 superintendents in California, so I send a personal email to all of them. It says I have an exciting opportunity for you in Calistoga. It's an amazing district. See the attached position announcement. If you have interest, please call me. So that position announcement is about a 5-page document that talks about your district, who you are, what you believe in, the schools that you have, the students that you have, the employees that you have, your mission statement, which is impressive, your budget, and then the process to go through. And then once that happens, people start applying. I drafted kind of a timeline that I'm not sure you're comfortable with. That's completely up to you. You have a lot of notice. You're going to be way ahead of the curve. You're the first district that I know of that knows that you're going to need a superintendent, so you're going to beat all the other districts to the quality candidates, which is pretty amazing. The process that I use is EdJoin. It's an online application that you know it. I have a custom form that I've developed to put on EdJoin that has the criteria that you identify listed, and also has writing prompts, about 10 writing prompts that the candidates have to respond to that address the qualification criteria that you identified. That generally lasts about 4 weeks. Longer than that really isn't important. Shorter than that isn't enough time for the candidates to get the materials together and notify at least their superintendent or president. And then screening takes place. The twist on my process is that I use a screening process that involves current outstanding superintendents. So I invite superintendents from the region. I would guess that in your area, I would ask 2 of your superintendents in Napa County and then 1 in Sonoma County to screen the applications independently. And the way they do that is on EdJoin. EdJoin has a screening function. So I will talk you into identifying 10 criteria that you think are most important. And then these 3 screeners independently look at the applications and grade them using the 10 criteria on a scale of 1 to 10. So from 0 to 100 points for the applications. Once the screening is done, I meet with them and say, does this make sense, what you've said? So far, in the 8 searches I've done, it's worked out every time that there are 3 groups. There's 1 group at the bottom that none of the screeners feel comfortable recommending to as a board. There's a group at the top that all three recommend, feel comfortable recommending to you. There's a group in the middle. So I spend most time with the screeners talking about that group in the middle, see if we can increase the number from 3 or 4 or 5 to 6 or 7 or 8 to come to you. So I come to you after I do some preliminary reference checking to see if they are truly valid candidates. And I say, here are the candidates. So I don't talk about the bottom candidates unless you want to hear about it. You get copies of the applications for the top group, and they're actually color-coded. So the top group is green, the middle group is blue, and the last group is pink. So you have a chance to review those applications before I meet with you. And I say, does this make sense? Who would you like to interview? So that's about a 2-hour closed session where we talk about the candidates and we decide who would like to interview. I'll have complete knowledge of every candidate that applies. I would imagine you will have somewhere between 30 and 40 candidates. This will be a very attractive search. This will be an easy search to do. So my goal for you would be, when we get down to the end, you will have a hard time picking. You'll have a lot of discussion amongst yourself about, I think this person's great. No, I think this person's great. No, I think this person's great. So I think you're going to find that in Calistoga. This is truly an exceptional district, so you're going to have a lot of candidates. People already know that I've applied to assist you. I've had calls already about, is it true that Calistoga is open? They tell me that. So I think you're going to be very happy with that, whether it's me or Rich Bishop. So the bottom line is you pick. I'll come to you and I'll say, based on the input from these 3 experienced superintendents, quality superintendents for health counseling that have been in the practice for a long time, you get to pick who you'd like to interviews. My understanding is that you are doing a closed process, which in a district like this is very important. So you do have candidates who are willing to apply and remain confidential through the process. Typically, a board interviews about 6 candidates. It could be 8. If you do 8, it's going to take at least 2 full days to do 8. 6 we can do in a full day. And then what I've done so far, it's worked well, is at the end of that first day, we talk, and I get on the phone and I say sorry to 4 or 5 of them, and I say, we'll let you come back tomorrow to interview with the board for their finals. And that's 2 or 3 candidates. The questions that I recommend you use for either process, the initial or the final candidates, come from the criteria that you develop with the candidate. So I try to stick with those same criteria all the way through the process. Once you decide on your top 2 candidates, and I strongly recommend that you do focus on 2 top candidates, I've heard experienced situations where if a board falls in love with one person, that person, if they know that, gets into a struggle as far as negotiation of a salary and contract. So I always steer the candidates into knowing there will be 2 finalists. If you're a finalist, you'll be 1 of 2. So that eliminates some of the bargaining power they have. This actually happened in one of the districts I did last year. The candidate knew that the board fell in love with him and wanted $50,000 more. And fortunately, the board did have a second candidate, and they won the second candidate. Once you identify your top couple of candidates, I call them and I say, okay, are you serious about this? Are you aware of relocation? Are you aware of the salary the board is considering, the range? Is this something you're truly serious about? And then do reference checking. My reference checking is a little different than most from my understanding in that I call at least 15 different people and interview them about the candidate. Make sure that on the application, the candidate indicates that I can call anybody that I want, not just the people that they've suggested. So I call the superintendent, I call current board president, past board president of their current district, same in the last district, I call their district secretary, I call everybody on their cabinet, I call at least the principals from each level, high school, middle school, elementary parent, elementary teacher, special ed parent, special ed teacher, high school parent, high school teacher, classified employee, CPA president, CSEA president, and a community member. So there are at least 15 people that I call and go through a series of questions, trying to follow through on what you would like to see as far as your qualification. And personal entities. I can tell you that so far, no one has come out perfectly. I always find something on somebody. So I will come back to you and I'd say, here's what I've heard. Just so you're completely aware of the person that you're interested in. Many search firms will call 2 or 3 or 4 people that the candidates have recommended, and they're going to say, we love that person, they're absolutely amazing. So I try to dig deeper than that, so you truly know who you're interested in. Contract development takes place, and generally that takes place by the board president and another board member after they've been given parameters by the rest of the board as far as salary, contract length, and some of the extra items in the contract. I would suggest you do that with your attorney. So far, the boards have asked me, can you do preliminary discussion with the candidate to make sure that we're in the ballpark, and then I turn that over to you and your attorney to develop the contract. You approve the contract and a regular scheduled meeting. This is really important for you because you can only approve the superintendent's contract at a regular scheduled board meeting. So that means if you want to have the contract approved in March, the process backs up from there. March is a little early, but not too early. February will probably be too early. Might have candidates who will be resistant to telling their district that they've applied that early. The process would have to start in November, December. March is earlier than most processes, and with a contract approval in April. That's the peak of the superintendent hiring wave. If you go later than that, you lose some top candidates from my experience. So the goal, in my mind, would be contract approval in March or April. You want to do it earlier than that? That can happen, certainly. Just need to make sure the candidate is fully aware of that. My timeline is wide open. My world is I work for myself. And if you were to select me, I work completely for you to make sure that the job gets done. I don't have assistants. I do every step of the process on my own, including making copies, and attending all the meetings, and gathering and tallying the surveys. So I do everything on my own. My wife says I'm a little OCD, but when this process is done.
So to be clear, sorry to interrupt, but it would do one job at a time.
Yes. I did last year. I finished a job in Shoreline, and right at the end, Alexander Valley asked me to start there, so I got permission from the board president of Shoreline to do that search. Why me? I live close, 30 minutes away. Been around Sonoma County for a long time, 27 years. I know your district well. I've done some work in your district over the past 3 years, so I know your administrators, I know many of your employees, I know your community. So I feel comfortable coming in. I've been an experienced superintendent for a long time. Done 8 searches, that's not a lot, but so far all of them have gone really well. As I mentioned earlier, the board presidents have expressed they're so happy with the candidates. So every year what I do is I send an email to the board president, the district secretary, and the candidate saying how are things going, just to make sure that everything's going well. I do have a guarantee that if for some reason it doesn't work out the first year, I'll do the process of making it free. That's about it. Have any questions?
Yeah, no,
Appreciate your time, Scott.
No problem. Thanks for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for your help.
Maybe we'll move on to
Good evening. Well, good evening to all of you. One familiar face. Nice to see you. My name is Rich Fisher, and I'm here representing Leadership Associates. I want to thank you for inviting our firm to come in and make a presentation tonight. And I want to also thank you for allowing my wife and I to come in a day early and discover the harvest table. That was amazing last night.
That was fun, wasn't it? That was a good time.
Oh, it was great. And the best thing, and we didn't have tickets, of course, but the restaurants that were open had plenty of tables tonight, and that was great. It worked out super. Love small towns, and we're small town folks. My wife and I live in South Chicago, so. As I said, my name is Rich Fisher. I'm going to introduce myself a little more formally in a minute, but I do appreciate you having us here. We are a firm that focuses on hiring superintendents statewide. But we appreciate that this is literally the most important decision we believe that you make as a board. Hiring your superintendent, holding that person responsible for the education of the kids. We appreciate that you're going to make an investment to do that. You'll make an investment in the firm you hire, and you'll make an investment certainly over time with the superintendent that you hire. My partners on this, we work in teams. My partner in this case, my partners, two partners will be involved. Sally Frazier is a retired superintendent from Madera County, 24 years there as a superintendent, which makes her extremely well connected with all the county superintendents in the state. She was the president of the County Superintendents Association repeatedly and gives us a real wide network that way. You know Jim, some of you know Jim Brown. Jim would be here by Skype, but that just didn't work out. So if any of you want to ask him a question, I get him on the phone. But Jim was involved here a few years back when your current superintendent was hired. And so he and Jake Abbott from Leadership Associates did that search. So, well, we really wanted to be involved in this one also. Happens to be in New Mexico right now. Jim had a wide career. He was most recently retired as a superintendent of Glendale. Prior to that, he was in Palo Alto, where he was the superintendent of that district, which is basic aid, very much like yours. Just very different districts, but like yours in terms of basic aid. But he also served as a superintendent in a one-school district, Cambria School District on the Central Coast. So he's had that experience. I did 19 years as a superintendent. I was also the superintendent of basic aid district in the Bay Area. So we really realized the challenges of being a basic aid district, but also was the superintendent of one school district, Harmony Union School District over in West Sonoma County in Occidental, possibly one of the poorly named districts in the state, but I really learned a lot. And among the things I learned was how difficult it can be to be a superintendent of a small school district without much help. So we bring a lot of experience, but we also bring our team. And our team includes 11 other partners. We all are partners in the firm, and they are spread throughout the state. Jim and Sally and I specialize in Northern California. But I think it's that reach that allows us to find the very best candidates. I know that your current superintendent was not from Calistoga when she was hired. And that's the kind of work we do. We have to find people that are just right to make a match for you. We, not only do we specialize in California superintendents, but we specialize in doing work that people seem to appreciate very much. We've done over 350 searches successfully. We have an 85% record for superintendents staying in their district for 5 or more years. So 85% of the 350 that we have placed have stayed there for 5 or more years. We guarantee you, I sound like a car salesman, but we do guarantee you that if the superintendent leaves within the first year, we will do the search over for free. Unfortunately, we have a situation just like that right now in Carmel. The superintendent was not able to complete his assignment there because of illness. He became ill, wasn't able to work. We did the Carmel search, and now we're doing it over for Carmel for free. And that's our commitment to you. The only cost there would be basic incidental costs that anybody might pick up, but there will be no charge for that. We have recently completed in the last couple of years, we've done the searches in St. Helena, Santa Rosa, Fort Bragg, Novato, smaller districts, Plumas, Amador, University Prep in Shasta County, Reed, and Kentfield school districts. Just to name a few of the ones we've done in the last couple of years. So we're really proud of the work we do, and we're really happy about it. We enjoy it, and we're passionate about public education. Our team has a phone conference every 2 weeks. So tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, we're all online. When we begin to look for candidates, so if we put it out there to our team, we need to find some candidates for a certain school district. We recognize every school district is unique. You have some unique features in Calistoga. Just looking at your LCAP and your strategic plan, we know that how much you care about high quality education, how much you care about teaching and learning. I mean, that is just so obvious. It's all through the plan. So you need a superintendent of police, the same thing. But you have a challenge, because this is a small district. And currently, there is no assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction. That's your superintendent's job. Our challenge is going to be to make sure, if that's the configuration you're going to continue with, that we find somebody that's able to really focus on curriculum instruction. Or probably a person who needs to be a generalist, because you've got other things going on. You've got construction programs. You need somebody who can also bring the skills to make sure that those construction programs are managed really, really well. Your facilities are really well kept. I can see the pride in the facilities. Just walking around, I spent part of the day doing that. You need to have somebody here who can make sure that that continues. You've got I think that you've all received our packet. It's all there. I do not intend to go through all of the processes. Trust that you'll read them. A lot of the things that we do are similar to what other firms do, from the beginning to the end. Community input, finding candidates, vetting candidates. I think we've distinguished ourselves by finding and vetting candidates better than any other firm in the state of California. I think that's why we get most of the searches, the largest number of searches of any firm. So I think we distinguish ourselves, we take pride in that, we hold ourselves responsible, and we ask you then to ask some questions of yourself. I don't know if you're deciding on this tonight, I don't know if you're deciding on it, I think you may be deciding at the next board meeting. Between now and then, ask yourself a couple of questions, if you will, and then after I ask you these questions, give you some thoughts about them, I'm going to be open to questions from you. I mean, you need to ask yourself really what kind of candidates you want to apply for this district. And you sincerely know what they are. We will work with you to identify those traits that you want to see in a candidate. We'll obviously work with your community. We'll have literally all of the stakeholders we can find. There are 3 of us. We have the team, we have the time, and we have the experience. We will be in your district a lot, interviewing people, spending time with those who are key stakeholders, finding out what you really want. We'll develop our position description, of course. That's standard, everybody does it, but we will use it as a real guide for finding you the best possible candidates. You also need to ask yourself how you're going to be sure you're getting highly qualified candidates. I mean, how are you really going to know that? And in that case, I would ask you to look at the references that we provide you. Call any one of them. Call some that we didn't list. Just like we're going to call references that are not listed in candidates' papers. And ask what kind of work we did. I think you'll find that people are thrilled with the work we do. And that they ask us to come back and do other work with them. We're doing a board workshop on Wednesday night with Amador Unified Governance Team. and we just placed that superintendent about a month ago. And it's just typical of what we do. So you're going to get highly qualified candidates, but how are you going to know that they're going to be successful? We're not successful if you aren't. So we're going to make sure we're connected all the way through the transition into the new superintendent. From working with them on a 100-day plan that they'll bring into the district and be ready and to work on during that first 100 days, as well as, if you choose, governance workshop, to make sure that you have all of your protocols and roles in place, well placed, that you know that those are in place as that first 3 or 4 months transpires, so you know how to work together. Finally, how do you really select a finalist? One of the things that we obviously will do is bring you good candidates. We'll bring you all candidates that are qualified. Bring you all the information on those candidates. But we will bring you a recommendation of 4 to 6 candidates that we think match the profile, that we would recommend out of the group, and we'll probably get a pretty good pool that we think you ought to look at. You choose. This is always going to be your process. Doing something you don't like, you tell us, we'll change it. You will choose the candidates that you will interview. We'll help you develop the interview questions. We have banks of questions we've used as starters, but we'll work with you through the interview questions. We will facilitate the interviews so they go so smoothly that every candidate walks out going, boy, I hope I got that job. And you guys did a great job of making sure it went smoothly. And I'm really looking at that district with a lot of interest and pride. Glad I got an interview. So we'll make sure that process goes extremely smoothly. So all in all, we're going to work from you from the you'll be in touch constantly. We'll provide press releases. Monique one of the biggest challenges of a superintendent search we have discovered over the years is for the executive assistant. It's a lot of work. Setting up all these interviews, making sure people are on time. You've got to, I can tell you right now from my experience, just getting ready to come here, Monique does a terrific job. We have somebody doing a terrific job too. Linda Hunt is our executive assistant. Most firms do not have that type of employee. And she will interact directly with Monique or whomever you assign her to. We also will prepare draft press releases for you, draft agendas to make sure you're not violating the Brown Act. We'll make sure that we keep you posted through one of your, either through your president or through an ad hoc committee. We will be connected with you all the way. There will be no time that you won't be able to get in touch with us and ask us to help you with anything you need to know. So with that, I just want to thank you for inviting us, encourage you to look at our references, make some phone calls, ask yourself some questions, and I hope you select us as your search firm. Any questions? Yes.
Yeah. On average, how many searches would that team of 3 be doing at any given time?
1 or 2. We have a large partnership. I mean, it's got 14 partners. And so we have a lead partner who's another, retired suit, just like all of us, who we respect. And he's always make sure we don't get overextended. So, and you're out real early. I mean, this is a great time. I mean, the timeline can be really great for this one because we know so far in advance, and we're able to plan everything out, so we won't have any conflicts.
Anything else? Well, thank you for coming.
Well, you're welcome. And where should we have dinner tonight?
Where did you have dinner last night?
Huh? We're gonna be down there in Lincoln. Okay. Never mind. That's probably a little fun. I have a feeling my wife has an opinion on it already. So, thanks an awful lot.
Appreciate your time. Thank you. Uh, 12.3, and we have Christina and Lauren.
Michael. I'm with Dorigi Castellanos Architects. I'm the principal architect here, and I have the managing partner, Juan Moroso, here to give you a presentation about the summer 2016 projects as well as the Phase 3 feasibility study. I appreciate the opportunity to provide you this report. So let's start with the summer 2016 projects that included paving the playground, relocating the ball walls and tetherball courts outside of the fire lane, as well as constructing the new ball walls that you see off to the side. The scope of the project included paving, but it also incorporated adjusting the paving from the Phase 2 projects that was uneven. It also addressed some accessibility issues around the end of classroom 1 through 6 building, and it relocated the ball walls outside of the fire lane, which is the fire lane is required to be accessible for the fire department. So I'm happy to report that the work is substantially complete. We are working on the punch list items with the contractor, and because the ball walls are a TSA approved project, we're working on the testing and closeout of that, as well as incorporating accessibility upgrades that the district wanted to add in for the drinking fountain at the bottle filler into. So I'm happy to report that the project is within 3% of the budget, and that with the closeout we're projecting that will be done in 60 days. So the result that you get with this project is a much safer environment for the school, primarily because you had a lot of different paving project in areas that were different types and different areas of paving, as well as allowing the fire department easy access to the back of your school and in case of an emergency. So the remaining component of the 2016 projects are the storm drain report, and just in case anybody is not clear what a storm drain is, it's basically a drain pipe that takes rainwater and then takes it off-site. In this case, it's taken to the Napa River. And on your elementary school campus, you have your storm drains in two parts. You have an underground line, and you have what's called an outfall, which is where the drain basically comes out of the ground and comes and becomes a surface mounted pipe, and it goes down into the Napa River. So we were brought on to create a storm drain report because the district had a failure on the elementary school campus. And our primary focus for the report is two lines, the 10-inch line and the 24-inch line, both of which you'll see in the red. We have been working with the district pretty extensively in almost a year-long process to define what we have found out through the investigation of the storm drain lines and what our initial findings were. So the findings are similar to the report that I gave last time, which was we have a 24-inch storm drain line that is abandoned and damaged, but its 24-inch outfall is usable. And we have a 10-inch storm drain line that is usable, but its 10-inch outfall is damaged. So we needed a short-term fix to address the damage of the 10-inch outfall and to address the 24-inch line. And with suggestions from the board, we are proposing that we basically divert the 10-inch line to the 24-inch outfall. We're proposing to fill in the 24-inch line under buildings and walkways, and then line the 24-inch outfall. And what that'll do is give you some breathing room to stabilize your existing infrastructure and give you time to work on the stabilization of the 10-inch outfall, which will, we are projecting to continue anywhere from 2 to 5 years because of the multi-agency process that's required. We have got some good news, and we're looking into additional agency cooperation to see if we can streamline that process for you. But the final report will have recommendations for the next steps that you have to do and how the district proceeds from here on. And so in our next month, we will be presenting the final report that'll outline not only what we've discussed here and what we've been updating you with throughout the process, but as well as the agency contacts and the processes to go through for this next stabilization. So the phase 3 feasibility study is phase 3 is for the general obligation bonds that you already have. The next building in line was here at the high school campus and was focused on 2 buildings. One of which you see here, which is classrooms 21 through 27, and classroom building 28 and 29. We discovered pretty early on that 28 and 29 were in pretty good condition, and through the district's direction, kind of pulled that off the feasibility study and focused our efforts entirely on classroom 21 through 27. It was built in 1978, and it is a modular building. And the board has asked us to look at 3 different options, which are modernize, replace in kind with a new modular building, and look at a new building. There are some constraints and some issues that we discovered when we were reviewing this building. Besides the age and the condition, it needs a new roof. There are multiple accessibility inside and on the exterior. And there are 2 non-DSA structures that are associated with the building that have to be addressed with any kind of replacement. So the first one is a traditional modernization. Modernizing a modular classroom is difficult because of the way that it's put together. It's meant to be done in a factory and not pulled apart after it's installed. So the modernization is possible, but it really wouldn't address your accessibility on the interior traditional way, keeping within the footprint, would actually reduce the amount of toilet rows that you have available, thus continuing to reduce the amount of facilities that you have available on campus. And it would also, you would be required to address the DSA non-compliant structures. And so we've outlined some timeline improvement budgets on each one of these options, but you would expend a lot of effort and not get very far with this option. So the second option is basically replace in kind. It is a new modular building will take care of our accessibility issues, and it will update and bring it up much like a modernization would. Because of the configuration, odd configuration that you have, and the constraints that you have on the site, which is basically 2 major roadways for Calistoga and a transformer for the site, you are pretty constrained where the building can go. So these are examples of what current modular buildings would look like. And it would address your current issues, but it would not focus on long-term flexibility and common core and technology. So the third option, again, this is an example, not necessarily your building, would be to look at a 21st century classroom. We're proposing that you look at a 2-story building. That was from discussions with the district. based on the constraints of the site. There is quite a bit of noise that the high school classrooms get between the two streets that are there, and the two-story classroom would allow you to pull the building back from the street and still allow you space to increase your outdoor learning and give you some flexibility for future expansion. The two-story building also gives you the option of having a flexible classroom space and expandability that is part of the cornerstone of the 21st century learning, which is basically what your curriculum is now and working forward. It's kind of like your 1953 building in the elementary school. I'm sure that they had a vision for what it would be, but and we all know that changed quite a bit dramatically over time. And so the two-story building would give you the flexibility of having the building evolve for you and not be fixed into basically very constrained exterior and interior spaces. And it would give you work better with Common Core and the collaborative spaces. So talking about, opening up spaces between classrooms, sharing spaces, and then as curriculum changes, actually also expand onto that. So I want to turn it over to the superintendent and talk about the next steps for the feasibility study. Any questions you might have?
Does the board have any questions for Christina at this point? All of you have been obviously part of the conversations that we have had, including in that workshop that we conducted a few months ago. And at this point, obviously, I think you would agree that we would all love option 3 right away, correct? But unfortunately, due to the estimated cost of the project, at this point, I am recommending that the board, that the district move forward with the beginning, in a sense, the process of having the design completed and then submitted to DSA, but wait to actually do, and DSA approval takes what, about 6 to 8 months, Christina, for this? And be ready when the time comes that the district can issue general obligation bonds to actually get the 7.5 or even 8 million, because as we know, obviously with time, unfortunately, the cost of construction continues to go up. Right now, based on the conversations we have had with our fiscal advisors, they believe that we can raise up to 6 million, correct? As you can see, we would be short, or we couldn't possibly do that type of a building. And after having built this facility, the MP and the gym, I think it would be very hard to bring another prefab building to anywhere in the school district. So, any thoughts? No? Okay. So the next step then would be to obviously bring to the board the contract from the architects to begin the actual work and the process of working on the design to be submitted to DSA. Are we? Yeah. Okay.
And there are some advantages of that, besides what Esmeralda was talking about in terms of there's a new requirement that basically escalates your prevailing wage cost 10% every year. And so that's something to consider, but there's also a code change that is occurring at the end of this year. And so by starting the process, which would, as a recommendation, do it in an increment, much like you did on all the new buildings here, is to basically lock yourself into the current code cycle and then work out the particulars. So that increment the site would be something that you would have to work at anyway, because you have a big transformer and you have existing utilities that haven't been touched.
How long are the code cycles?
They're every 5 years, and they kind of broke up the energy code and so that we Staggered. Yeah, we're kind of staggered now. So we've had the code cycle out for a while, but it's actually it comes into effect January. So you have to stop doing what you're doing once you submit it after January 1st.
I have one question for you before you go. Okay, the ball walls.
Yes.
So that's all going to work out? I read some notes somewhere that would get you.
Yes, we're going through some testing. There was some things that didn't test exactly the way traditionally, and we have found a way that we can still submit to DSA through an alternate means and get them over.
So probably chomping at the bit to get access to those, aren't they?
There.
And I went by the other day, Marty, it was a good idea that we were taller. They look good. They look good, yeah. Nice ball walls.
Thank you. You have very nice bubbles, and I'm sure that they'll enjoy this.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Christine. CES Principals Report. Nicole Lamar.
This is my first board report, so I'm use the microphone here. Right, I'll try that again. Good luck here. All right.
Good news.
You can hear me? All right. I have a loud ex-middle school teacher voice, so hopefully this can carry. With regard to our conditions of learning, something that we have been focusing on as a staff is that we adopted a new English language arts program. We're very grateful to have that opportunity to adopt that program because the last adoption, Jake Bunting and I actually wrote the obsolete report for Hope Mifflin. And the last time that we had English language arts materials was actually 2002. And if you look at the actual old HM books where they have the stamp on the inside showing which children have checked out the book for the year, they've actually run out of lines at this point. So we were very grateful to get this new series. We're using Wonders for grades K through 5. And then in grade 6, we went in a different direction to be more in alignment with the middle school. All right. So we ended up going with a program that was in alignment with the middle school, which is called Study Sync. And it's also with the same publishing company. Let's turn it off there. Okay. Thank you for your patience. And so really the first professional development day was dedicated to getting to know the nuts and bolts of the Wonders program. Additionally, we have dedicated staff meeting time and also release day time to continue supporting the teachers in the use of these materials. English language arts is a very large curriculum. It's not just one textbook and one teacher's guide. When we're talking about English language arts in elementary, we're talking about a program that not only includes literature comprehension, but also the foundations of reading and the foundations of grammar. And so you can imagine that this program has multiple levels of books and different items that teachers are expected to use. And so with the support of both our staff time and also our staff release days, we're also dedicating 2 more professional development days working with the Milwaukee trainers to make sure that teachers get an in-depth and rich understanding of those materials. Additionally, one program change that we are doing this year for our 6th grade is in honoring that transition to middle school. We find that students go from an elementary situation of just one classroom, one teacher, to some middle schools are 6 periods, I believe this is 7 periods, possibly different teachers. And so we're trying to do a transition program where our 6th grade students have one teacher for math, one teacher for science, and one teacher for English language arts. And so the feedback informally by students has been very positive. They like going from class to class. We're grateful as well because having those Chromebooks, the students do not have to carry Chromebooks around. They can just sit right down in their new class, use their Gmail to sign on, and be able to complete all of their assignments. And we also visited this model for our last coffee conversation. I think the parents really enjoyed seeing what was going on in each of the classrooms. Again, and I made reference to this before, we are starting our first of 3 professional development days where we're going to be looking at student data, to be looking at where our students are thriving and where they're having challenges and making recommendations to the instructional program to serve them. We will then do an 8-week instructional cycle, evaluate what's happening for our students, and then meet again and make adjustments to that. And again, very grateful to have that Common Core professional development support money to do that work. We are continuing with the BEST program, which stands for Building Effective Schools Together. And many things we're continuing with the Calistoga Elementary. We still do our weekly raffle. We are still honoring character traits. One change this year is that we put together an actual BEST plan that codifies the practices that everyone was already doing. And in addition, we refined our referral form so it's a little more teacher-friendly to fill out. It's a little more administrator-friendly to understand what the nature of the concern is. And it's also easier for us to keep track of in our positive behavior management system, our SWIS program. And finally, we have started out with all of our parent groups. We started out with our PTA board meeting. We'll be having our PTA meeting on, I believe it's September 26th, which is Monday. I don't have my calendar in front of me, and I apologize for that date. We had our first ELAC meeting, which was a parent training about the roles and responsibilities of ELAC. And we worked closely with the Family Center to offer parent training and support based on surveyed parent needs from last year. And we also had our first coffee and conversation where we went and visited 6th grade classes. And really what we're working on is, regardless of the parent group, we're trying to get the same message out there, realizing that our parents can't always make an evening meeting, so sometimes they come to the morning meeting, and so we just want to make sure that we're getting the same information out there.
Thank you. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Principal's report for the high school junior.
We're combining, so I'll start off. Junior high, one of the things that we've done successfully in the last few years is the 7th grade orientation. And again, we held that this year. We had about 50 of the 57 or 58 students show up, kind of go through the orientation where we get binders so they understand how to organize their life at school in junior high. As Mr. Mark indicated, 7 periods, so that's a big 2-inch binder. They also got to meet resources and get to play with their lockers. So 7th grade orientation again was something that, the feedback we got was it's super important for kids, especially coming over from the from the elementary school, to get an orientation about how life works here. Some other highlights. This summer, we went to an AVID training, about 4 teachers and myself, to learn more about the AVID strategies. Our elective classes, the teachers are going to the 2nd year to learn more about the program so that they can take it to the next step. We've also added another component. Last year we did training specifically around the long-term English learners, strategies to help meet their needs. This year we're increasing that, we're starting there, and we're adding increased strategies and how to look at a text and ask questions, and how to work with each other and kind of dig deeper. The last part of my quick report is Palisades. Again, this year we have a new teacher, Ms. Hanson, who was at the junior high and teaching English 7 and 8. We've extended the hours from 9 to 2:30. We thought it would be a good chance for her to kind of get to know the kids, and the kids to kind of work on recovering their credits or working on their individual plans, whether that's to return to the high school or to graduate. She and I have sat down with every parent and student before in the first couple of weeks of school to sit down with the child and come up with the goals and specifically say, this is how many units, these are the classes, and this is how it's going to be done. And so the kids all came and sat down. We also had an opportunity, Santa Rosa Junior College came, their career in tech ed counselor came and presented not just to the Palisades, but we had our special, our own special presentation, but they also came to the high school to do a bigger presentation here at the high school. The kids were excited about that presentation, seeing what possibilities are.
They were excited because so often we just talk about going straight to a four-year school. Our local college is NAPA and the Sept College is wonderful pathways, career pathways. You can finish and get a certificate and you're certified or trained in a specific field. And so they were excited to see that there was another path besides going to four-year college that they could pursue. Just thinking back on what David said about our professional development day, sometimes when we have professional development days, we hope that whatever we present sticks with the teachers and then we actually use it. Combining the junior high and high school with fabulous today as in our classroom and doing this. The teacher used 3 of the 5 strategies we talked about. Although she knew I was going to mention, she might have planned it that way, but it was good to see. Whatever works, we'll take that over. We have a new ASB teacher this year, and that's going well. And we also have a person who is working with her to do the outside school activities. And that's been a fabulous partnership. And something that I thought of this year when we did work was how do we involve students into the service to the center? And every teacher elects one person out of the 5th grade class to come. The SB is going to be leading it, and that's the first one, will probably be the second one. And the idea is that they want that sharing communication, that it's just not held among people, everybody can involved. And so we're involving Will, and we'll introduce him in just a second. He is on the student center also. And if there's information that you want to send back to our students to get information from the classrooms and bring back again, they'll be those responsibilities to do that too. Back up to conditions of learning. We're offering some new classes this year. We're really excited about it. We were able to get a $100,000 grant through State California for a biotech class. And biotechnology is one of those emerging fields, but it's also one of those fields that's very expensive to start. So the testing equipment alone is expensive. So $108,000 is a great attribute for this corner. So we're really excited about that. And she's forming some partnerships not only with local vendors, private farmers, because they use a lot of biotechnology there. It's a growing field in the industry, but also with Solano College, who has a partnership with Genentech in the park. So she's trying to create those opportunities for students. World Geography is new. It's an open elective class. At first, when it was proposed, I thought, well, she was elected. But actually, we have 20-some kids in World Geography that want to know more about our planet, what goes on there. Our advanced placement chemistry, which is brand new. We have 22 students in there. 22? Yes, I'm very, very excited and very eager. They've chosen a hard path because it is a college of course. La Promesa, year 2, is brand new. We have students who want to do it again. So she's teaching the class together with the La Promesa year 1. A little challenging that way, but it's been a good class too. Culinary 2, same thing. She wrote this some returning students who went up further, so he's got a separate curriculum for them and using them as sort of almost like a sous chef, where they're getting more responsibility and taking on new bits of learning opportunities.
Also, so I thought we should mention a very nice article on the front page of the Tribune on the culinary program. And I was here, by the way, that day. Where are the girls? Sneaking boys.
Boys. I got the data from that, I was really confused too, but
Yeah.
we'll work on that. We'll move boys into that. The AP chemistry class, they're all the chemistry class because there's 19 girls and 3 boys in that class.
That's fine then.
Maybe that's what I got. We also are introducing another way of teaching chemistry, this chemistry electrical energy. And that class is actually about 13 kids in it too. So within chemistry, we have regular chemistry, alternative energy, and AP chemistry. So this Brooks has quite a few credits this year. But she's really enjoying being able to offer these classes. And then this year, Ms. Craig is offering for additional AP and French. Over about 8 students in that class. It's being taught with AP year 3 so she's combining the 2 classes. But she wanted to offer that to the students. And she's providing an opportunity for a capstone if they want to do it. Well, also in the she has a fun class. It should be a fun experience for those students.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Schedules, 12:06.
Before you every year, around this time, we bring to you basically a copy of the master schedule, the schedule for the elementary school. As you will see at a glance, you can see the class sizes at each grade level. And also the junior senior high school class schedule and class sizes in each section.
Summer school report.
That's just a written report to basically that summarizes from Jeremy Grove, who was the summer school principal, what the summer program focused on and what was accomplished.
And then 12:08, Napa County Mass Education Back to School Research.
Just for your information, this was obviously distributed throughout the whole county of Napa, and we have done this every year, and the cost is paid for by the county of education. We're planning to send just our page, by the way, to the parents.
Item 13, consent calendar. This requires a roll call vote. Actions proposed for the consent agenda are deemed routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless any member of the board, the audience, or staff requests specific items to be removed from the consent agenda for separate action. Ready?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Roll call. President Maxfield, yes. Clerk Elkshire? Trustee Lopez absent. Trustee DiGiulio?
Yes.
Trustee Hunt?
Yes.
Item 14, action items. Protocol for action items includes staff presentation, questions from the board, public input, deliberation by the board, and voting by the board. During public input, there will be a 3-minute time limit per person. 14.1, adoption of 2016-17 local control accountability plan. Each local education agency in California is required on an annual basis to complete a local control and accountability plan using a template adopted by the State Board of Education. Revisions related to language, organization, and statements of expenditures are provided and incorporated into the final LCAP plan brought to the public hearing held at the June 6th board meeting. Recommendations, request to adopt 2016-2017 LCAP plan as presented.
As you know, this is a working document, and I know this is the third time that we bring this to you. The county recommended that we make some changes, revisions to the calculations and where those calculations were posted. Do you have anything to add, anything more? Just consolidated some expenditures. We, as we said before, we work very closely with the county to meet their timelines as well as their guidelines, and they ask that we make those changes and we bring it back to you. So it is a working document.
For motion?
I move that we adopt the 2016-17 LCAP.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 14.2, Student Board Member Resolution 16-17-04. Following California Education Code 35012, which provides the board to authorize its students to make motions that may be acted upon by the board, except on employer-employee relations pursuant to Government Code 3540-3549.3. Okay, right. Recommendation, request to adopt resolution authorizing student representative William Beardsley to make motions as specified above.
We are pleased to have William here with us, and we welcome you as the student representative. I recommend that he be approved for this year.
I would like to make that motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah.
Yes, please, take a seat.
Will Spot is in the house. Mr.
All
President.
right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right. 14.3, Resolution 16-1705, Statute AB 2926 authorizes the governing boards of any school district to levy a fee, charge, dedication, or other form of requirement against any development project for the reconstruction of school facilities. Recommendation, request to adopt Resolution 16-1705 authorizing the increase of school facility fees as authorized by Government Code Section 659.
So every 2 years, the State Allocation Board revisits the fees that we're allowed to levy as a school district, and they adjust it based on inflation. So this is a 2-cent increase for our commercial and a 12-cent increase for our residential. And as you know, to do this, we have a study done that shows the cost per square foot impact it would be to the district, which is quite a bit higher than what we're actually allowed to levy.
Move that we adopt resolution 16-1705.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 14.4, Resolution 16-1701 regarding sufficiency of instructional materials and whether each pupil in the district is provided sufficient test books and/or instructional materials per Ed Code 60119. Recommendation, request to adopt the resolution for the 16-17 school year, which requires the Calistoga Joint Unified School District to provide each pupil with sufficient textbooks and instructional materials consistent with the cycles and content of the curriculum frameworks.
We recommend that the board adopt the resolution 16-17-01 as submitted.
So move.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, future agenda items, 15, October culinary arts update and facilities project update. 16, board calendar, Monday, October 3rd, regular board meeting, Monday, November 7th, regular board meeting. And so for Monday, we're going to have to come up with 2 choices, October 3rd.
And I will be out of the country.
Have fun. No need to reconvene to close session. And going down to 19, student rep.
Well, I think we have to make a motion first. Looking for a motion to adjourn the meeting. Nice. Part-time student rep.
That's the important part. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Student rep?
Welcome aboard.